with 10 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture and Best Director, which makes sense. It's Scorsese and Scorsese and De Niro and Scorsese and DiCaprio, which, these mixtures are usually catnip for Academy voters. You can now check this movie out on Apple TV+. Let's talk about Killers of the Flower Moon. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new film Killers of the Flower Moon. If you missed this one in theaters, as I did, you can check this out now on Apple TV+. It has got a very long runtime. It's sort of why I avoided it in theaters. I work for a living, and to carve out 3.5 hours in my afternoon can sometimes be tricky when I usually start work at like 4, and they don't start playing movies till like 1 or 2. So it never worked out for me to see this in theaters. But that was sort of originally the plan, to put it on Apple TV Plus. Anyway, from what I understand, this was going to go directly to Apple Plus and just be released, for like a week or whatever in select cities for Oscar consideration. But somebody at Apple decided, you know what, and this has been happening more and more lately with streamers, but somebody decided, you know what, we could actually make money maybe if we put this into theaters and then release it on Apple sooner than, most movies would go to streaming. And so that's what they did. And, the gamble worked because it's made, I think, somewhere in the $70 million range in the U.S. So it makes sense. But now you can check this out on Apple TV Plus, which means if you'd like to take a break during it, which I certainly did, then you are welcome and able to do that. This is a long one for sure. Before we launch into the specifics of the movie, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do movie and TV reviews on the channel here, and just about every day something new goes up. So there's always a lot to check out. Please consider subscribing, hit that like button, comment below. All that stuff, of course, helps the channel out. I certainly appreciate it. And check out my Letterboxd, too. You can see that down in the description, the link there, and you can check out all the movies that I see, even before I post the review video for them. You can check out, the movies I've been watching. So, all right, so Killers of the Flower Moon. Look, Scorsese, he obviously is one of the greatest living directors, but his movies are a bit long in the tooth, and this is no exception. So I will be, right up front with probably the biggest negative I have about this movie is its length. And that wouldn't be so bad maybe if it wasn't, I felt a little bit repetitive. I certainly don't mind a 3+ hour movie. I've seen Oppenheimer 3 times now, which is right at 3. Titanic is one of my favorites. Every time that gets re-released, I'll try and go see that. And that's 3 hours and I think 17 minutes. But this is even longer than all of that. This clocks in at over 3.5 hours. And I just don't think it needed to be. This seemed like, Scorsese just bloating that runtime, and he tends to do that. But the general plot here, so this is based on a book, if you didn't know, and it's based on true events as well. But this is set in 1920s Oklahoma, and there's been a bunch of murders in the Osage Nation after oil was discovered on their land. And so the members of the tribe, had retained these mineral rights, but corrupt politicians decided, no, that's not going to be what we're doing. And so they're trying to steal the tribal members' wealth and murdering them in the process. So you have, like I mentioned up front, De Niro and DiCaprio, both in this movie. They've both worked extensively with Scorsese. De Niro, I think this is his 10th movie, and DiCaprio, I think maybe his 6th. And Lily Gladstone, a relative newcomer here, who was Oscar nominated for this role. She is one of the 10 nominations received by this movie. I was unfamiliar with her completely. I know she had a role on the Showtime series Billions, which I never watched. But in terms of feature films, this is certainly her highest profile acting job. And I think of all the nominations, I should say, for this movie, I think Lily Gladstone probably has the greatest chance. I think Best Picture and Best Director, probably, those are going to be for Christopher Nolan. And Robert De Niro was up for this as well for Best Supporting Actor. And I think that's probably going to go to the Nolan movie as well for Robert Downey Jr. and Oppenheimer. Some of these other ones, I'm not sure. I mean, Best Score is, a slight potential, I think. It's up for Best Song, which I don't think is going to win. I think probably the Billie Eilish tune from Barbie is going to take that. So, I'm not sure, but Lily Gladstone gives a knockout performance here, and I think it's her and Emma Stone, kind of neck and neck, with the voting. So I think maybe Emma Stone is going to take it, but Lily Gladstone certainly has a shot here. DiCaprio was being touted as maybe a potential snub. I don't think that's true. I really did not find him to be that great in this. He's fine, but I've discovered in the last few years about Leo that he is a great actor in his lane, in what he does, and this is within his lane, but it's just nothing necessarily that we haven't seen him do before. I don't think he's really stretching his acting capabilities here. He's fine, but yeah, I wouldn't say this is a snubbed performance, especially with the field of Best Actor nominees that we have. But so part of the negative portion of this with the length is the repetition. And I the first half is really all about the killings and I should say quickly, I guess, who people play. But De Niro plays this guy, William King Hale, who has a lot of sort of clout in this community. Leo plays Ernest, his nephew, who is a World War I veteran, comes home and ends up living with his uncle, and that's when he meets Molly, who is played by Gladstone. So Jesse Plemons is fourth billed, but he doesn't even show up for like half of the movie's runtime. But he is an agent leading the murder investigation for what is actually going on in this community. And you have John Lithgow as the lead prosecutor, Brendan Fraser as one of the attorneys. But these guys don't show up until like an hour left in the movie. And Brendan Fraser, by the way, I didn't think he did a very good job either. He was okay, but Scorsese, I feel like usually gets these just A performances, A plus, A caliber performances. I didn't find that with a lot of these people. Now, I do think De Niro gives a great performance. I think his nomination is deserved, but yeah, Brendan Fraser, I don't know. He seemed a little out of place in this movie. But part of the problem with the length is sort of the fact that the first half is all doing the murders, and we're getting to know the characters, and then the second half is the investigation and the trial, and that's when the movie actually started to get interesting. I think one of the things that's compelling about Oppenheimer, as long as that movie is that they sort of paired out the trial portions, and actually there's two trials in that movie, but they sort of peppered those in throughout the movie. Here, it's very, very linear, and I think it maybe would have given us some more intrigue if they had sort of chopped up some of those trial portions and placed them throughout the movie, and then we would get the details as we go, rather than just a linear storytelling thing like Scorsese does. And then the other thing I would say is that it definitely focuses a little too much, I think, especially for a 2023 movie, 2023 movie. I think this does not completely cover how the Osage members feel about everything. It's more, okay, yeah, another person died. Okay, well, that sucks. But let's go back to the white guys and focus on, what they're doing with it. And I just think there was a missed opportunity here in this day and age. And they spent, I think, too much of the time in the movie focusing on, okay, here's what the white guys did. Here's what they think. Let's focus on them. I think there was an opportunity to do something a little bit different here, and Scorsese chose to not do it that way. But anyway, look, this is not a bad movie. I mean, the directing is still great. He's still Scorsese. The score works. There's a lot of things that work about this movie. But of the 9 Best Picture nominees I've seen thus far, I still need to see Zone of Interest. But this is the worst one of the 9 that I have seen. Scorsese's last movie, The Irishman, I gave that a B. And this one gets the same. I give Killers of the Flower Moon a B. I think it's probably a better movie. I would have to go back and watch The Irishman, which I'm just never going to do. But yeah, I think we're maybe getting to the point in Scorsese's career when maybe he could hire an editor, outside of himself that can chop these things up a little bit. So, all right, but you can check this out now on Apple TV Plus if you so desire. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.